Okay, after last week's climactic ending of circle theorems, we're going to be looking at expanding brackets this lesson. So I'm just going to put two questions on the screen. We all know how to do this, so this is just revision. So to begin with these two questions, we all know that we just have to do 3 times by x to get 3x and 3 times by minus 2 to get minus 6. In the second question, we do yz times by xy. That gives us xy squared z. And then we do yz times by minus 2z to give us minus 2yz squared. Okay, you can see that there. Let's look at a slightly different question. Well, actually no, let's look at a very similar question, just with things turned around in a different order. So x plus 5 times by y. If we do the y times by the x, we get the xy term, and then the 5 times the y gives us the 5y term. That happens in the same way as before. Now we're going to expand on this idea, and this will help us when we get to more complicated things. So, instead of writing y in the next question, but before I do that, the term you're looking for is starship. Okay. So, I'm going to write the question again, but instead of writing y, I'm going to write a box there. So if I were to expand this, in the same way I had xy plus 5y, I'm going to have x box plus 5 box. Yeah? Just compare the c and d, you can see that it's exactly the same, but instead of writing y, I've written box. This will help us with the next question. So if I look at e, I'm going to do x plus 5 times by 2x minus 3. Okay, now, it's not obvious how I would do this, but as you can see from the next step, if I put this 2x minus 3 in the box, then I have the same question as above. Okay? So that means it would be x times box, and the box is 2x minus 3, plus 5 times box, and the box is 2x minus 3. Okay? Just compare D and E, and you can say that they're exactly the same question. All I've done is I've put 2x minus 3 in that box. Now, I have two brackets that I know how to expand. So if I look at the left bracket, I get x times 2x. That will give me 2x squared. And then x times minus 3, which is minus 3x. In the next term, I get 5 times 2x, which is 10x. And then 5 times minus 3, which is minus 15. Okay, now I can look at that, and it can simplify slightly by collecting the x terms. So 2x squared stays the same, and then minus 3x plus 10x is 7x, and then I get that minus 15 again. Okay, so that's how we can expand double brackets. F is going to be a similar question. So 3x minus 2 times by 5x minus 4. So I do the same thing. I treat 5x minus 4 as a box. Now I do 3x times by the box, and minus 2 times by the box. So 3x times by the box is 3x box. And then minus 2 times by the box is minus 2 box. And I just put in what was in the box, 5x minus 4. I can expand both of these. So 3x times 5x is 15x squared, and then 3x times minus 4 is minus 12x. Next, we get minus 2 times 5x, and minus 2 times minus 4. This is the biggest mistake people will make in a question like this. They'll say it's minus 10x, but then they'll write it's minus 8, but it's not minus 8, it's plus 8, because it's minus 2 times minus 4. I'm just going to change that, because apparently I made a mistake. So it should be plus 8. Okay? Carrying on, we get 15x squared, and then minus 12x minus 10x is minus 22x, and then plus 8. Okay? So you can see that minus 22 comes from combining the like terms minus 12 and minus 10. Okay, the heart you're looking for is heartbroken. Okay, so where does this leave us? We now know how to expand double brackets, and we know how to expand complicated double brackets. We're now going to look at factorising. Now, factorising is the opposite of expanding. So, we're going to be looking at factorising quadratics, and they're going to be simple quadratics. They're not going to be complicated quadratics. We'll look at that in the near future. So to understand factorising quadratics, we need to better understand expanding quadratics, or expanding double brackets. So if we have a question like this, we would expand it to get x times by x minus 3, plus 7 times by x minus 3. This is the same as the previous page. So I expand the first bracket and I get x squared minus 3x. I expand the second bracket and I get 7x minus 21. Okay, simplifying that gives x squared plus 4x minus 21. Okay, the year is 1987. Next, from here, the question would be, factorise x squared plus 4x minus 21. Now we all know what the factorisation is because I've already expanded what it was. When I factorise it, I get x plus 7 times by x minus 3. Okay, just compare what we did earlier to what we're doing now. We're factorising the expression to get the double brackets. Now how could I have done that if I didn't know what it was? Well, if we look at that minus 21, that minus 21 came about because I did 7 times by minus 3. Okay, that's how the minus 21 came about. So I could have done 7 times by minus 3 to get that minus 21. I could have also done minus 7 times by 3 to get 21. Okay? So that's just looking at how I could have got that minus 21 term. Okay, now looking at this 4x, this came from adding minus 3 and 7. When I added those two terms, I got 4. So when I added 7 and minus 3, I got 4. Now imagine that we didn't know it was 7 and minus 3. We could look at the two options, 7 minus 3 or minus 7 and 3, and compare. So 7 plus minus 3 is 4, which is the one we want. But the other option was minus 7 and 3, which gives us minus 4, which is not what we want. So we can eliminate that. We now know that the two options are x plus 7 and x minus 3. X plus 7 and x minus 3. So that's why the solution is what it is. Okay. The time is 5:45 p.m. Let's look at another question so you see another example. So let's look at x squared plus 6x plus 5. So we're going to factorise this expression. So we know it's going to be x something. We just need to know what those somethings are. So how did the 5 come about? Well, the 5 came about from multiplying two numbers together. So we multiply two numbers together to make 5. What could that be? Well, it can only really be 5 and 1. You can't think of anything else that multiplies to make 5. Now that 6 came about by adding those two numbers together. And sure enough, 5 plus 1 is 6. 5 plus 1 is 6. So I can put that in, plus 5 plus 1. Now I can check that this is the correct solution by expanding the double brackets, x plus 5, x plus 1. When I expand that, I get x times by x plus 1, plus 5 times by x plus 1. Continuing, x squared plus x, plus 5x plus 1. This gives us x squared plus 6x plus 5. Now you see how it's the same as the question. The checking showed that I had the correct solution. Okay, let's look at a slightly more complicated one. Oh, the number, by the way, is the number 2. Okay, factorising. Let's factorise a slightly more complex one. X squared minus 6x plus 8. So you should really pause the video now and see if you can do it yourself. Okay? Give you a moment to pause it. Yeah, do pause it. Okay, and we're back. So, we know it's going to be x something. We have to work out what those somethings are. We know that the two numbers multiply together to make 8, and they add together to make minus 6. They multiply to make 8, and they add to make minus 6. Now, as you get more skilled at this, you'll realise that the two numbers must both be negative. They can't both be positive, they have to both be negative, because they have to add to make minus 6. Now, what two negative numbers multiply to make 8? Well, the two numbers that multiply to make 8 are minus 8 and minus 1. When you multiply them, you get 8. Or minus 4 and minus 2. When you multiply those, you get 8. Okay? It's got to be minus 4 and minus 2 because those two add together to make minus 6. So it's going to be x minus 4, x minus 2. We can check this. When I check it, I multiply out the double brackets. and I get x brackets x minus 2 minus 4 x minus 2. Expanding the first set gives me x squared minus 2x, and minus 4x plus 8. Yeah? From the minus 4 times by the minus 2. That gives me plus 8. Simplifying gives me x squared minus 6x plus 8. This was the question. I've checked it. It's correct. When I factorise it, it must be x minus 4, x minus 2. Thank you very much for watching.